Here's another question that was sent to me. The individual has all sorts of wood rot on the bottom of their shed, and they were wondering how they could raise the shed so that they could pour another concrete foundation and repair the damage. And I think I have a few ideas, but the first thing I'd like to point out is when you are dealing with a situation to where the soil level is a little higher than the shed and touching the siding kind of a thing, would be the possibility of installing some type of a drainage system. So the soil's high, you could come in and lower it and install some gravel or just a drainage system. This would be a pipe. You could always install maybe 8 inches of gravel around a pipe, and the pipe of course would have holes in it. This pipe doesn't have holes in it. This would allow the water to drain into the pipes and away from the building. So this right here I think would be the most inexpensive way to do this type of a repair. Instead of raising the shed, you could just simply lower the soil around it, put some type of a drainage system in, have the pipe come out somewhere to where it is going to not create a problem either. And remember, this pipe could go out in all different directions. I have it coming out here. It could come straight out here, could come out straight this way, could come over here, anywhere. You can get something to drain this water away from your shed would help. And then you just backfill it with gravel or gravel and soil. Look for some more information on drainage systems like this, and you could simply pour a concrete pad for your door over the gravel or the gravel and the dirt, whatever you feel like backfilling it with. And this right here would probably be cheaper than raising the shed. But that wasn't the question, was it? This individual wanted to raise the shed. So what you're going to need to do is remove some of the siding. You have lap siding. Pull up a couple of pieces. You have plywood siding. You're going to need to cut some of it away. You're going to have to fix the wood damage anyway. So you're going to have to cut some of the plywood siding or whatever siding you have on it. You have stucco. It's going to be a little more difficult because you're going to actually have to remove some of the stucco. So in this here, I removed about 4 feet of it. And this is also going to help if you're going to pour concrete. You're going to be able to reach in here and do some finishing for the floor. It'll be a little easier. If not, cut yourself a foot, 16 inches, whatever you think is going to work. And of course, you're going to need to remove the pins or the anchor bolts, the nuts and washers, so that the shed will move when you raise it. And we're going to need a couple of beams. The beams will need to protrude out past the edge of the shed wall, and I have them protruding out 2 feet on each side. You might want to go a little farther, and your beams might need to be a little bigger. I think these are 4x10s here. If you have a bigger shed, you're going to have to use bigger beams, and of course you might need to get an engineer involved in this if your shed is a little too big, or if you're raising a small building. The next step will be to add some type of supports so that you can support the wall framing above and actually raise it instead of just moving the beams. You can use screws, I would imagine. How many, that will be up to you to attach everything. And we will pull off the roof here so we can see things a little easier. Now, you might not need to use full-length 2x4s like this. Maybe a 3-footer or a 2-footer will do, and then you might want to attach one to every wall stud or every other wall stud. And then where the beam is, you're going to want to have something on top of the beam, but underneath the framing plates. And I would imagine this is an 8-foot by 8-foot shed, and you can always use a 4x4. And here we're spaced about 4 foot on center. You might need to go 32 inches on center or even 2 foot on center with your beams and your support. So just kind of throwing out some ideas what you can do to support the walls all the way around. You could also install some type of additional bracing here. I have a 2x10 that is sitting on top of the beams here, and using lag bolts to go in. A 2x4, you might want to use a 1/4 inch or a 5/16 inch lag screw, 2 of them, 3 of them. I'll leave that up to you. And just kind of wanted to give you an idea of what a lag screw looks like protruding out. But lag screws, and I would imagine at least something 4 inches long, 3.5 inches. And then, of course, you can always set another board on top of the beam and install the lags also. Now, I didn't put one on this side, but if you're going to use this method, just go all the way around the building, all the way around the perimeter. And, of course, here's showing you where it would sit on top of the beam. And if you do put something like this in and you are going to finish the concrete, install a new concrete slab, this is going to make it a little more difficult to bend over and finish everything. So this might be something that you would consider. You're going to have to, if you're going to pour a concrete slab, you're going to have to try and plan how you're going to do it so that you don't get a lot of things in your way. I mean, already these beams are going to be in your way, and you put these boards in here or even some longer ones and you're going to be bending over. It might make it a little more difficult. Next step would be to start raising the building. We will need some type of jacks. Here I have 6 jacks. You can do this with 3 jacks. You can do it with 1 jack. You're just going to have to be a little patient with how you're doing everything. What I would like to see happen is for you to raise one side, maybe 1.5 inches, and then move the jacks over to this side. Do not leave the jacks here and the blocks. Make sure that the beams are fully rested on the blocks and not the jacks in a situation when you go to the other side. Otherwise, you're going to have everything. When you raise this side of the building up, it'll be resting on the jacks and not the blocks. And the blocks are going to be a little more stable. So, and if you're going to raise everything up, you're going to get 6 jacks like this, and you're going to raise everything up maybe 1/2 inch all the way around, 1/2 inch all the way around. Then you might want to get some 1/2 inch plywood and then slide the plywood underneath here, work your way around, come back here, raise it another 1/2 inch, put another piece of plywood in, go all the way around. But if you just raise everything up without putting the supports here, any type of supports, this thing could be pretty wobbly. So just keep that in mind. And the holes, you can use whatever jacks you want. You can use floor jacks and screw jacks, of course. And let's go ahead and get started. First step would be to raise one side, and 1.5 inches would be fine. I'll leave that up to you how far you want to raise it. We can see we have 1 block here, 2 blocks here. Now there's no reason to come back and raise this side. You're already over here with your jacks. Raise this another 1.5 inches. And then when you come over here, you're going to raise this another 1.5 inches and then another 1.5 inches after that. And then move your jacks to the other side. Here's an example of what I'm talking about, raising this up another 1.5 inches. Now we are up about 5 blocks. Okay, we're now up about 13.5 inches. And you might need to put some blocks in your holes to get the jacks to work. Otherwise, you might have some need some long jacks there. Make sure that the beam is resting securely on the blocks and not the jacks when you are done. You can remove the jacks when you're done. And if this is moving, if you can move this at all, you know, and if you raise this and you use these blocks and you raise this up 5 feet, this thing's probably not going to be too secure. So this would only work if you're raising it up a short distance, possibly a foot. And I'm going to try and make another video to give you an idea of some stuff you might be able to do if you are going to raise it even further. But also wanted to show you the jacks here. You can always backfill the holes if you are not going to lower it back to its original position. And use blocks here, 1 block kind of a thing underneath the jack. And that is it for the video. Remember, this is just a suggestion. This does not mean in any shape or form way that this is going to work for your particular project at all. This is just kind of something that I thought of, and there really isn't a lot of information out there for raising buildings. And remember, if this was me, I would probably go with my first method. This is a lot of work, and if you really don't know what you're doing, could be extremely dangerous. And, you know, if you're looking for dollar value kind of a thing, putting the gravel with the drainage around it, maybe even some gutters on your shed, something like that, with that would go down into the drainage. All the water would drain away, might be the best solution, cheapest solution. And but to raise something like this and pour a concrete pad over it, it's going to be a lot of work. So, and again, dangerous, like I said, if you don't know what you're doing.